My name is architect Chaitanya. I'm one of the partners of DA Studios, which stands for Design and Architecture Studios, based out of Jubilee Hills, Hyderabad. We are three partners in the office, and each one of us have specialized in different fields. So the kind of projects that we have worked so far include, we have covered from furniture, tables, to parks, to crematoriums, to houses, to group housing, offices, and so on and so forth. This is an unusual project in the sense the crematorium is done under CSR initiative, which is Corporate Social Responsibility. So the client in this case, Mr. Suresh Chokkapalli of Phoenix Foundation, and his intention was very clear. He wanted to create a symbol, an example, a standard for other people or other institutions to follow what he has been doing and create more and more crematoriums, because most of the crematoriums in this country are dilapidated, never bothered or never looked after. The irony being, every person eventually has to be there. If I cut through the section or through the urban context, there is the hill and boulders, there is a road that's called the Narne Road, and then again hills and so forth, and it just goes on, and it goes and becomes flat and meets the old Bombay highway. And this is where the site is located. It's about 3.5 acres of existing graveyard, which means if I cut through it in the plan, if this is the main road, then this about so is the site. From here to here, there is a slope of nearly 9 meters, which is almost the height of a 3-story building. It is 3.5 acres, studded with graves everywhere, because this is a graveyard. It's not a site which was allocated specially for a crematorium. It is an existing graveyard. That's the main road, and it goes and hits the highway. To start off, we went back to texts, which is the original scriptures, in which in the Hindu cremation process, there are about, in the Hindu life, there are 16 phases according to the scriptures, which is called Shodasha Samskara, the 16 phases of life. And the last phase is Antyeșṭi, which is the funerary process, and that we are dealing with that particular process. And in the scriptures, it has been further divided into 12 or 13 steps, which starts off with purification of the space to performing the rituals. So, to put it in terms of words, there are rituals which are in text, which are converted into the physical manifestation, that is spaces. Ritual to physical. Physical is what the space that will be required. That is converted into formal, which is the functionality of it. Formal to symbol, which is what the client has asked me to create a symbol. So as I said, the rituals are about 12 or 13 steps. Each one of these rituals requires a physical space. So first thing that we had to do was to create one path or procession, which is very important for us, which is the process of carrying the body to the pyre. And incidentally, the name of the project also comes from this, which is Mahaprasthanam. 2 was the existing graves, which we could not touch or scratch, or we have to respect it. We did not want to hinder with what is existing. So what we did was fed this entire data into the computer, and it gave us an optimum slope, which was meeting somewhere at the center of the site. With the optimum slope allowed us to create a path of optimum angle, so the people who were carrying the body did not have so much discomfort. And the location of the graves, once they were plotted, the remaining empty pockets which were left, like these pockets, all these pockets became buildable spaces, which is in these spaces we could build something. All these spaces are sequentially laid on the site according to the rituals, and what came out or what resulted is the site plan that exists now. So according to the rituals, yes, we just lay down where the entrance pavilion where people enter from, followed by an electrical crematorium, followed by an office block where the enquiries are held, and a locker adjacent to it where ashes are stored, a small ceremonial yard where rituals are performed. At the crux is a shower area because water is essential for all our rituals, and spread across it are two pyres, traditional pyres, which is traditional in the sense they use fire to burn the body. The electrical pyre uses electricity and petroleum to do the same thing. So the site plan that came out was organic, happened to be organic by itself. And adjacent to all these pyres were again waiting halls where people could stand and just overlook the process. What I'm bothered is not the person who's deceased, but the person who is carrying the body and the person who's leading the procession. It is for these 5 people the entire site has been designed, and all the people who are accompanying them. So we don't know what happens to the person who's deceased, but we all have been in this situation, and these are my clientele. So when I'm dealing with such kind of situation which happened to us, all of us in our lifetime at one point or the other, we find a couple of emotions that just creep up. So if you talk about a typical funerary process, the first and foremost that we always come across is the acknowledgement, that is the news of the person being dead. So let's say the first emotion. I'm talking about all emotions, because these emotions are translated into forms, or shall I say shapes. The first emotion that we always get is the phone call or the information that the person has deceased. This is acceptance. In the sense, you're going to acknowledge and you're going to respect what has happened, that is the news of death. The second emotion is always pain or sadness, that is the acknowledgement, that is you have known that the person is dead, so you're going to break down and cry. The third happens after the body is lit. So when the body is lit, and within another 2 hours everything is just ashes, all that remains behind are just sweet memories and good moments in life. All that is negative is gone. So what essentially happens in the last is you're literally liberated, or you become free. And I wanted to capture each one of them through the site. So let me begin with the first one. First emotion is acceptance, that is the entrance pavilion of the site happens to be like that. They carry the body. So the walls bow inwards, which is a symbol of acceptance, that is you have just humbly bowed forward. The second shape, as I said, the acknowledgement of death, which is, as I said, every person breaks down and cries. So when a person is breaking down and crying, so can a building. So the building just falls down and it just cries along with the person. The third emotion I'm talking about is liberation, which is once the body is lit, you're literally free of all the negative things that happen in your life with that person. All that remains is happiness. So the third emotion is liberation, and the walls fall outwards. It's as simple as that. So architecture is not just drawings, it's a built form. So if I just consider this as the build form, I'm going to just do it proportionately, and you'll get the gist of what I'm talking about in terms of emotions, in terms of complexity, in terms of composition. So this becomes a form. So it tilts about 15 degrees on one side with the heights varying from 6 meters to 4 meters. And then all you have to do is compose it. The way you approach the building. I don't want to approach it dead ahead like the classic method of doing it. I didn't want to approach it from the side like one of the other things. So this particular block which I'm doing is the electrical crematorium, in which we have the machine right here, the entrance is right here, and the pathway happens to be somewhere like this, yeah, and there is the entrance here, so the human scale would be somewhere. You won't be able to see that. And then there are elements, the walls, that itself create the screens, compositions, and the geometry that I'm talking about. This wall cannot be higher than the building itself. So I did not want anything else to overpower the building. So that's a composition. And the landscaping that goes around it, it will go around it. So this is how people are going to enter. This is how there is going to be a tree here, which forms the center of the building, and there is a yard here wherein the body is prepared. There is another wall there which screens it further from the traffic on that road. Again, it does not overpower the building itself. Yeah, so every block that I'm talking about is composed this way. Every point at any point of the pathway, you have different perspective to see the building. The approach will give you a different perspective. The moment you land here, it will be different. The moment you're inside, you'll have a different perspective. So it will create different levels of emotions as well. The technology that is used to build this is Precast Technology. It was supplied and erected by a company called Precast in Hyderabad. What I've done is used hollow core slabs, which are thin strips of 1.2 meters of 200 mm thick. That becomes the roof. And the walls are precast, which are again 200 mm thick with different panel sizes. So we have filtered about 12 of these shlokas, made a small mold of it in CNC, poured some silicon based material on it, and we got scriptures. We got a base mold which was used in the casting process, wherein each wall we had shlokas in Sanskrit, English, their meaning, and Telugu, casted directly into the walls. So almost all the walls strategically placed had these shlokas. So when people would just walk around, or when they're sad and they just want to, they find solace not only in the music but also by reading them onto the wall. The angle was achieved very simply using Precast technology. That is the advantage of it, with no extra cost, and we could build the whole thing in about a time span of 30 to 45 days maximum.